This episode of the Leap Forward podcast is brought to you by Bridge LT, leaders in conversational learning and innovation. Through AI role plays, technical simulators, and comprehensive training programs, Bridge LT is revolutionizing the future of corporate and enterprise education.
In this Leap Forward episode, Danny Bluestone, Director Digital Transformation and Innovation at CACI Limited, breaks down his journey into digital innovation. He shares how he combined design, usability, and open source technology to create user-friendly digital experiences. Danny also delves into how AI and data insights are reshaping industries and why cultivating a resilient, learning-focused culture is key to thriving in today's fast-paced environment. Welcome back to the Bridge Leap Forward podcast series, and today I am delighted to be joined by Danny Bluestone. Hi, Danny.
Hey, how are you?
I'm really well. Thanks for joining us. It's really great to have you on the show. You have an incredible story, I think, to tell. I've obviously been part of that over a number of years, and I'm honoured and proud to be so. But for those that don't know you, perhaps, could you start off with just giving us a little bit of a career journey to date?
Yeah, absolutely. My journey really started actually in my teens. I started actually in a completely different area, but started in the music industry as a DJ. I ran a DJ business, and then in the late 90s, I managed to get into the early days of the web. And what I actually found is making interactive CD-ROMs and websites was more of a passion than DJing. So I pivoted towards the web, multimedia, and interactive media as it was becoming at the time. And in those days, it was very challenging to find work, simply because the web was a new technology, it was a new medium. As you probably remember, even companies like Coca-Cola didn't have domain names, and other people were buying their domain names. So there were some visionaries out there predicting that the web was going to become new media as it then became. And yeah, I was obviously privileged, in the right place at the right time, really, when it came down to the web. I embraced it, and I spent hundreds of hours learning how to build websites, how to design websites. Obviously, there was a huge variety of technologies around in those days, from Macromedia Director and Lingo all the way to Flash, HTML, and even other type of early streaming technologies, like Real Player. So it was really the golden era of choice, as I call it. And it was also, in those days, it was quite difficult to learn. You didn't have Google, where you could go on a search engine and find content and educational material like you can today. So you pretty much had to learn by yourself, really, and or with friends. So there used to be a bunch of kids at the time. I mean, I was in my sort of early 20s, but a bunch of kids, we all used to hang out and teach ourselves bits and pieces, from HTML coding to even building computers. So I used to build my own computers, order components, and just build them. I managed to convince my mum to order 2 ISDN lines, which were extremely expensive. It was almost like a quarter of her mortgage payment. And then on top of that, we had all the brothers in the house trying to play video games on the only computer that we had. So we all really got into multimedia, gaming, designing and building websites, and then it just became ultimately it became a career choice, which led me to where I am today. But it was a lifelong learning journey to get there. and pretty much a lot of the journey was me teaching myself really how to design and build websites, and then eventually I got into more formal education later on as well.
And I believe that at one part in that career, I love the whole self-taught story. That's just phenomenal. I think we'll get into that in terms of how you then sort of moved, into teaching others and helping others learn, which I think is a whole other kind of topic. But you did work for a while, I believe, for an education business as well. Actually, built not just building websites, but building learning experiences and courses, right?
Yeah. So that was so again, obviously today I'm in a leadership role, where I lead, manage teams. So I don't sit down and design and develop, but the had an honor of being able to do that for many years early on in my career. So kind of my route into, I guess, business isn't from a business angle. It came much more from a practicing side. And yeah, you're absolutely right. So in my early 20s, I was living in Israel, working as a DJ, built my own DJ business, and then started to work for some Israeli startups as a graphical user interface designer. So it's quite an interesting. It was a desktop product that basically, when you went onto websites, it would add products to a desktop app, which was almost like a shopping basket. But then eventually decided to move to London. Worked in a number of different businesses, .coms. Interestingly, one of the exciting businesses that I joined was a company called Line Communications. Today they're called Leo Learning, and my role there was to take um, content from newspapers and magazines and even TV material and turn it into courses for business consultants. So Line Communications were doing a lot of work for PwC and IBM and all of the big consultancies and management consultancies in those days. So I had to work with journalists from the FT and people like that to take content and bring it to life in an interactive format. So it was essentially short courses, online lessons, taking very dry material about the internet. So it was all about e-transformation, as it used to be called. So that was before digital transformation was around. It was called e-transformation. So it's essentially educating business consultants on how the internet is going to impact a variety of industries, from retail to financial services to healthcare. What is the internet? How is it going to revolutionize the world? How it's going to be used as the main communication platform between business to business, business to consumer. What the new channels like e-commerce are going to do. So this was I think it was 1999, 2000s. Yeah,
Wow.
2000 when I was working there.
My goodness. You
And
you
interestingly, yeah, yeah,
I just have to say, like here you are, basically, a pioneer using HTML and ISDN lines, the raw kind of materials of that kind of first generation, I suppose, of the web, and you're teaching people how to teach, how to use the web and how to adopt it. You're there right at the beginning, and you're teaching the teachers, right? I'm just blown away by that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it was a fascinating era because obviously Flash, Macromedia Flash, at the time it was almost like the AI of today. It was really cutting edge to a point where it was transformational in a number of ways. You could create extremely compelling material rapidly, and use it as a tool and a platform to engage millions of people. So I remember we had to create animations and videos and interactive, like drag and drop interfaces, quizzes, even video streaming, and people were just like, "Wow, like this is unbelievable!" Like the fact that it loaded really quickly was extremely, again, providing that it was used and designed well, and developed correctly, was extremely effective medium to educate, to immerse, and ultimately create material that was transformational for a whole generation of. I mean, we're talking about Gen X, which is my generation, your generation, so pre kind of millennial. This was the shit. This is how you would engage. This is how you would engage the masses and transform businesses. So yeah, Flash. I pretty much built my career on Flash in those days. I was known in the industry as the Flash guy. So on my CV it said the Flash guy, and then below that Danny Bluestone, and I just had. Yeah, I mean it was really interesting. I built a whole kind of career. I used to contribute a lot to Flash repositories as well, to various kind of pieces of action scripts, and I used to obviously download a lot of other scripts and almost Flash files. So there was something called Flash kits, if you remember Flash kits, where you could almost build your own models and tools, and that was pretty much those days. And then, funnily enough, from an interactive perspective, obviously I learned a lot about designing and developing, but what I also had to learn was the whole project management piece. So there were a number of project managers that I used to work with. Obviously, there were clients that I used to work with from PwC and BP and Volvo, and so I really had exposure to some great clients, and obviously sitting down with project managers, which I knew nothing about. I didn't know how to hold a client meeting or manage a budget, but as designers we were very much empowered by the project managers. We used to get invited to sit into meetings, and to when they used to go on holiday, I remember we used to cover for them. There was no like alternative project manager, so we had to learn how to manage clients, and that was a really cool thing that we had to do as well.
The grounding that you got on, being a practitioner and teaching people how to teach, and really kind of understanding how to create, engaging and immersive experiences. What are some of the things that have stayed with you? What makes a great experience, Danny?
So a great I mean, my old boss at the time was a guy called Piers Lee at Line Communications, and one of the things he used to say to us all the time is, if you want to educate well, you have to entertain. Education has to be entertaining. It has to be engaging. If it's dry and boring, and you're reading, pages and pages of content, the chances are you're going to alienate a lot of your audience, right? And there's obviously different types of learners. There's visual learners. There's learners who prefer the more audio experience. There's all sorts of different types of learners, and a lot of it will also depend. Even if you're one type of learner, you might be driving in a car, you might then revert to audio learning. So you have to provide people with options, with choices on how you educate them. So I'd say definitely an entertaining education is extremely important, which is why I think many of us learn a lot just through watching movies, right? Like, a good movie is a great way to learn. So I think having those, if you are trying to educate an audience, giving your users choices, be it through video, through interactive media, through AI now as well is a great way for people to learn, where you can, train the AI to teach an audience, obviously generative AI, that is. I think there's some principles though that we need to remember, regardless of which type of learner you are. Like, a lot of people are time poor, so I think learning has to be fast in a way, particularly if you're giving people formal content. The great test on whether the learning is effective is how quickly can somebody learn, because clearly we all want to learn as fast as we can. We're all busy. I mean, even if you take a young 20-year-old, 21-year-old, they're going to want to be going out. They'll want to socialize. They'll have stuff that they want to do. So when they learn, they want to do it in a way that is fast and rapid. So the other principle is, I think it has to be accessible. So going back to my early days, the days of Flash, one of the principles I always had is you have to have an accessible version of the content, because you can't just have something that is only someone on a high, be it a high speed dial up or ISDN or ADSL. You have to be able to provide something that's going to work for everybody. So that principle hasn't changed. So in those days, I used to create accessible HTML websites as well, simply because not everybody had the Flash plugin. I then came to learn that people with impairments and disabilities couldn't actually use Flash, like screen readers couldn't access Flash content. So the whole kind of principle of inclusion is something that's also applies to learning. I think today we obviously know a lot more than we did 25 years ago around, like, there's obviously neurodivergent people, there's people that English isn't their first language. So in terms of the content itself, it has to be very friendly. So there's a number of principles, I would say, that are really important when you're creating learning content.
And fast forwarding to you and your role now, and you're working with some enormous companies on, as you said, transformation. And even when I think about the word transformation, if you're transforming something or someone or an organization from one place to another, that requires education, it requires teaching, it requires training, and so on. So how, I suppose, in a sense, integral is what we're talking about here to kind of the role that you're playing as the CEO of the business today, working with the companies you are working with?
So yeah, I think my role today is to inspire. It's to support my fantastic leaders. So all of my leaders here and the people that I've been working with, and again, I've been privileged to work with most of the directors have been with me for over 10 years. My role is to really inspire them and make sure that we as a business can continue to make the web a better place for my clients' customers. That's ultimately what Cyberduck was about. What CACI is also trying to achieve is to make stellar and amazing experiences using obviously a variety of technologies, but ultimately designing products and services that are going to be transformational for the end users. And obviously technology in all its forms, be it accessible React code, for example. Obviously React is a front end framework, be it generative AI, be it designing an infographic or even a video. I still see this as cutting edge technology. Even like a 2-minute video can be produced in a way that is transformational. It can be. If you can pack 40 minutes worth of content into a 2-minute video, you're a genius, because you've done the hard work for somebody else. You're able to to educate, you're able to inspire, you're able to change. Ultimately, what we all want is a better world, right? We want a world, and we know how important education is for our kids and the future generations. You know, educated kids, it means a better childhood. That means a better world. It means a more just society, better healthcare, better professionals, happier. You know, you can teach happiness, you can teach better ways of living. So I think we are in the world of digital learning, digital transformation. This generation of designers and developers and product managers, we're obviously in we come in from a place of strength where we're able to create products and services, be it for governments or big brands, make a better web, make the web more accessible. Obviously, we have a lot of responsibility in terms of the type of work that we do. So if you're creating a new product or service, not only does it have to be educational or transactional, we have to look at accessibility, inclusion, carbon sort of footprints. And I think that I'm not saying that there are a lot of cowboys out there, but there probably are. There's a lot of people out there that are just in this for the money, and I think that's something that you can see evidently when you see a broken product and a broken service. And sometimes it's not because people are being bad with their design and with their products. I just think they're under pressure, budgets are being cut, and or you don't bring the right people into the room at the right time, and then you end up with a broken service, with a broken product, with a broken learning program. So I think there is a lot of responsibility that I'd like to see across the board, being a bit more ubiquitous, where a lot of organizations are really doing kind of more soul searching around, okay, how can we create better services, better products, better content, and what are we doing? What are we doing to basically measure success? Like, how do you know if you're learning, you know, or your products and services are working? You know, sometimes the paycheck only goes far enough, and they're like, okay, it's not on me anymore. So I think for me, quite a big fundamental is caring about what you actually do and having that passion. Because if you don't have that passion, you're not going to go above and beyond the brief, which is ultimately, if you are able to do that, you will succeed.
Great point. What for you are the metrics for measuring experience?
So I think obviously from a business perspective, classically you look at profitability, but actually what generates profitability is happy people. So the happier your audiences are, the more they buy from you. I think yeah, I mean, look, Richard Branson talks about employee experiences coming before customer satisfaction, right? So I think that's also quite valid. Like, you have to make sure that that kind of total experience of the customer and your staff and your even suppliers are all part of that experience of effective, efficient, and happy. So that's you know, I think really to measure success, you have to be talking to everybody, and obviously learning through data. You know, obviously data is a so now the business I'm in is a very strong player in the data market. They have a number of data products and segmentation tools that we didn't have before. We very much came in from the qualitative qualitative space rather than the quantitative and statistical and data side. But ultimately, the data does tell you a lot, and talking to people tells you a lot as well. So even companies like Amazon, Jeff Bezos will, when he was actively involved in the company, he would still make calls to customers directly himself to understand what their experiences are. With all the data that they had, it's really, really important to talk to the end customer.
So when you're thinking about, we've talked a lot already about the pace of change and the kind of the paradigm shifts of greater forms of interactivity through the web and uses of AI and in more immersive tech. Where do you see all of this going? What does the future learning experience look like? What does it feel like?
So I think I'm a big fan of MOOCs or massive online open courses. I think that MOOCs will continue to, when I say MOOC, something like Coursera or the Khan Academy, for example, are great places to almost democratize content and build some phenomenal learning paths through obviously video, text, quiz type learning. So I've done quite a lot of learning there. Really fantastic way. I still think that obviously blended learning, having educators in person is really important. I mean, looking at my kids, so I have two young kids. They go to school. They have teachers. They have private teachers. They have parents. If you were to take a 5-year-old or a 10-year-old and just stick them in front of an iPad and just say, okay, that's it. That's your lifelong learning journey. They'll just turn into robots. Yeah. You still need that human element, that classroom type environment, that human interaction to guide, to motivate. So I don't think that's ever going to change. I think in terms of the technology itself, obviously, like many, I'm excited by the possibilities that we have with AI now. So I'm not going to talk about how great AI is because everybody knows it. Equally, as we know, AI can hallucinate. It can create false or inaccurate content. So we do have to be careful with what it does. But the opportunities to learn from AI are tremendous, and be it through a more of a curated type environment where an educator or brand or business wants to educate their workforce using generative AI. I think that's a great pathway for learning.
And you've mentioned your kids, and it's great to hear your kind of high level kind of approach to parenting. I wish I could be as thorough as you. You are setting a great example there, Danny. But when it comes to the skills of tomorrow, um, you're obviously living and breathing, you know, very much kind of at the edge of where we are, in this new world. What are the skills that the new skills that you feel we need to teach, be they your kids or some of the team that work with you?
So I think the number one skill for today's generation, I would say, is resilience. Resilience, not just for you, but for for a child or for an adult. But resilience needs to be embedded within teams as well. Like we all fail. Everyone fails, and I don't think that particular skill is taught enough. And how you bounce back from that failure, I think is really important. But for me, resilience is extremely important. I also think for kids, for example, teaching them how to build a better society, teaching them how to share. We've all, many of us who have had kids have seen how kids can be selfish. Particularly like a lonely child, for example, will generally not have brothers and sisters and won't share as much. But equally, kids who who have brothers and sisters can be quite selfish as well. So I think teaching kids how to share more, and I think it's not just kids, by the way. I think if you look in a professional service business, how do you get adults and professionals to share, to contribute to I mean, ultimately it's about the culture of learning in a business. If there's a culture of learning one of my favorite moments in Cyberduck is when we use Notion, which is a phenomenal wiki. We were looking for wiki systems for a long time, and just by taking all the knowledge, making it all very, very transparent, be it the business plan, be it the exciting developments that we have around Laravel or user experience, and just sharing that and getting the designers and the developers and the business leaders to contribute patterns and thinking, putting that into a wiki is fantastic. And that's where I think something, again, like generative AI is phenomenal, because it can be used to interrogate that content and almost bring it to life in new ways, because we're all busy people. If you can search for something or converse with a bot, and that hypothetically that content and data is going to be accurate, why wouldn't you want to do it if you can get the bot to challenge you? So I'm reading a really good book called Co-Intelligence by Ethan Mollick. It's all about how AIs can become your assistants, and you're almost you can use AI to basically challenge, generative AI that is, to challenge your assumptions. Don't just go into a chatbot or AI and start asking it questions and getting you to brainstorm your next business plan. Like, you have to do the thinking. Get the bot to challenge you, to play devil's advocate, and to build on your hypothesis rather than get it to brainstorm and do the hard work for you. That simply doesn't work.
I love that. I love that principle. That's a really phenomenal piece of advice there, and coexisting, co-intelligence. I love that as a concept. Danny, we've just got a minute left. I'm going to ask you to give me, in a sentence, what single piece of advice would you give to a young person who was looking to enter your industry?
Again, it's lifelong learning. Everything is about learning, but equally resilient. Rome wasn't built in a day. You have to go through, the obstacle is the way. Like, you have to go through multiple obstacles. You have to learn and grow stronger.
Thank you for joining us on this Leap Forward podcast, Danny. It's been inspirational.
Thanks, Justin. Chat soon.